Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We are here in our first show of Collision out here in January. You'll notice that some of the pictures are different. There was a picture pack update just recently, so I did grab that. There's a few minor updates to start off the year, but regardless, we start off with Roosh beating Dustin Rhodes with the Roosh driver. Following this, he grabs a mic after the match, and he declares that LFI is going to be out and about in order to dominate the world of AEW. Doesn't matter who gets in the way of them, no authorities, no legends, no fan favorites are going to stop them. And he reinforces this by telling the LFI to bring out their proof, which is them bringing out Commander, bringing out Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Each of them have one person, because there's two more people, part of LFI, Hiromu Takahashi from LIJ, and Daga coming on in to join. Most of the people have signed with us now, so we are starting to get a lot of debuts. We'll get those in the next coming weeks. The big, sexy AEW really getting a move on, starting with really today. And speaking of, the vignette of a rundown street in Chicago playing, the voice talking over. It says, for decades, people like me have dreamed of limelight. We've dreamed of being at the top of the world, plying our craft in the largest stage in the world, being able to show everyone just how good pro wrestling can be, being able to share our message, share our love of the business with everyone. But sometimes there's realization that comes, that you've done all you can, but something's out there, and it's not enough. Something's out there pushing you down. Not enough. And it's really enough to tear at you, to become disillusioned with this world. Be overlooked by the world. Kind of like as this is going, it's, it's sharing different streets, it's sharing, maybe some arenas, maybe it probably shows it outside of the United Center. And probably before he says that, to be overlooked by the world, it, cuts to, like, a very foggy room, and if someone's sitting on a chair, of course, zooms in, and it finally comes into focus with Mustafa Ali. It continues, there's a time for us disillusioned folk to strike. For people like me, who've had times where their passion was snuffed out, to get back at the world that caused this, that caused me to lose the joy in what I love, the joy in what I wanted to do as my life. But no more. I'm going to make this my time to shine. It's gonna be my time to shine, my time to show the world that people like me, people who've been kicked down, who've been disillusioned, who've been really pushed aside by everything, who've had their love of pro wrestling snatched out from underneath their noses. It's time for us to show that people like me won't be kicked down anymore. Yeah, Mustafa Ali, the disillusioned Mustafa Ali. We'll see what he gets into later on. Britt Baker then defeats Nyla Rose. She's in extremely poor form. After this, Nyla Rose is down in the ring afterwards when Ronda Rousey's music hits and the baddest woman on the planet starts to storm her way down to the ring. Marina Shafir is in the ring at this point, and she's helped Nyla up. Ronda and Marina, they're talking off, they're talking on camera, but you can't hear them on the mic. Nyla's, she's hesitant to get in, but eventually she starts to say something. But before, any words can really come out, Ronda just big right hand right to the mush of Nyla Rose, and her and Marina Shafir start beating down the Native Beast, but eventually, Ronda does leave it for just Marina to continue the beatdown. She turns to look up the ramp, see Britt Baker, and commentary's like, oh, is Ronda challenging Britt Baker? She is. Truly the most entertaining of angles for everyone watching. Everyone wants to see Ronda Rousey versus Britt Baker. Truly, we are ground shaping out here. Okay, that's actually a little bit disappointing. The BCC are all seen together talking to the camera, and say that Joe's offer is an interesting one, and they all agree that Eddie beating them all was all fluky. Every one of them should've, could've, would've beaten Eddie Kingston, but they all just had off days on the nights that they faced him. But they know that it's not going to be a fluke for Samoa Joe, that they're going to have to train as best as they can, and that they will accept Joe's challenge. And like as they're going on with this, Claudio actually is the one to speak up, and he says, "I will take you on first. Next week at Collision, I will face you for your world title." So yeah, this right away, it's going to be potentially 4 title matches for Samoa Joe, but it'll be big matches coming up. Claudio, the first one to go after Samoa Joe. After this, Chris Statlander defeats Taya Valkyrie with the Big Bang Theory. Toni Storm was on commentary for this, as we'll bring up right here. And afterwards, she has Luther bring her to the ring. And eventually, Toni is set down, and she just comes into the ring. She approaches Chris. She's kind of playing it up a little bit, and she, very, very fancily, very over the top, does the little boop on the nose to Chris Statlander. Right afterwards, Chris is obviously a little bit irritated by this, slaps the hand away, and gets right up in Toni Storm's face. Mariah May comes out from the crowd behind Chris, and beats down Chris right in front of Toni Storm. And Toni, she's very almost offended. "Oh, this is barbaric! How could we have such a uncouth way of dealing with our problems? However, I will accept it for this time, as Chris Statlander deserved this. She was very uncouth in her own right." And she's like, "Alright, I accept this. Clap, clap. Luther, bring her away." I will enjoy booking Toni Storm. After this, Renee is backstage with Ruby and Saraya. She asks them about the welcoming of Ronda Rousey to AEW. Saraya says, "Renee, love, I need you to listen to me well. We're the real reason that AEW is seen as having a good women's division in the first place. I get that Ronda's this big name, but it's because of Saraya, because of Ruby Soho, that people like her can just look here and realize how smart of them it is to join us. But that's not to say that we haven't looked for reinforcements. Ever since Tony left us, we thought that we were a bit lacking, that we needed more reinforcement, and especially with seeing all these people come on into AEW, steal the limelight that should be for the outcasts. Well, we needed a little bit more of that thunder down under, if you catch my drift." Renee is kind of like tapping behind, and it's Tenille Dashwood, who has now joined the outcasts. I feel like Tenille kind of makes sense. It's more bolstering for the women's division, and she kind of fits the aesthetic of the outcasts, which is ex-WWE people. So, yeah. After this, the Don Callis family defeats AR Fox and Top Flight. A pretty good match overall. I'm happy with that. Will Ospreay pins Dante Martin. Don Callis grabs a mic after the match and comes into the ring. He says, "Please hold your applause for the greatest faction in all of pro wrestling. Everyone here, they've been molded by the invisible hand to crush AEW. We've already dealt with Omega, and while Sammy has decided to be a big disappointment to us, we don't need him. We already have the 4 greatest men to join here in pro wrestling, to join AEW. The 4 men who are the future of pro wrestling. We have the Alpha, Konosuke Takeshita. We have the Assassin, Will Ospreay. The Powerhouse Hobbs, and the Aussie Kyle Fletcher. And we already know how much we are in charge. We already know that we are the future of AEW. That not even just the future, we are the present of AEW. And you know, it's disappointing that Samoa Joe wants to go out there. He wants to force his way into fighting the Blackpool Combat Club. But that's because he's scared. He is scared of Konosuke Takeshita, the Alpha, coming after him. So go ahead, Samoa Joe. You can go ahead. You can keep your belt for now. You can go and fight the Blackpool Combat Club, because Konosuke Takeshita will come after you in no time. And we already know that we're the top of the game. It's not the Blackpool Combat Club that's up top. It's not Bullet Club Gold that's up top. It's not what La Facción and Gobernable has to say. all that matters is, and before he can say anything more, Miro's music hits. He walks out with CJ Perry. He says, "What matters is your sacrilege, Don Callis. Through your time of being the true devil in AEW, you have disrespected my God. You have disrespected everything that we've seen, everything that we believe. You have disrespected everyone. Don Callis, that's something that needs to properly be disciplined." And Don Callis is like, "Oh no, it's Miro. He's gonna come after us. He's gonna preach at us." He's very much not taking it seriously at all as we head into commercial. We come back from commercial to be following Saraya and the Outcasts. They're ready to leave the arena when a limousine pulls up in front of them. They're like, "Oh, someone pulling up right in front of us? How dare you?" But out walk Utami Hayashishita, Julia, and Suzu Suzuki. They're staring down the Outcasts. It's 1-to-1. I'm probably imagining that it's Julia staring down Saraya, Utami stares down Ruby Soho, Suzu Suzuki is in front of Tenille. But eventually, the final door in the limousine opens, and Mercedes Moné exits the limousine. He has to stare down with Saraya, because of course they have that history. Before Mercedes brushes past them, the rest of her Stardom girls walk past, and Mercedes talks into the camera. Just those three idiots say that they are the reason that AEW's women's division is thriving, but I look around and I ask, is it really thriving? I've been the best women's wrestler in the world for years now, and I already know that where women's wrestling thrives isn't here. It's out in TNA, it's out in Stardom. So that's why I've brought the best of the best from the best. I've brought Julia, I've brought Utami, I've brought Suzu Suzuki. We're out here to show AEW what women's wrestling really is like, how great we are, and it's all because of money. So yes, big debuts out here. Mercedes Moné coming on in, Julia Utami, and Suzu Suzuki as well. Not super babyface, that is fine. Okay, you know what? I am fine with that. Those are some pretty good gimmicks. After this, we see Nick Cage sat down at home, flanked by his patriarch, and he says, "That was a cunning move, Adam. Bringing people to attack me unprovoked. But, you know, I get it. For people like you, people who have never had the upbringing of a real father figure, you're just gonna play dirty tricks to get ahead. You know, I've done my research on your guys, Adam. And you know what? It makes sense why you bring him in. You bring in Vikingo because he has that family connection that you wish you had. And Jimmy Shane, the unknown dweeb, whoever he is, he's just like you. No family to speak of. But my prodigy, the future of my bloodline, Nick Wayne, he's better than the two of them combined. He's younger than the two of them. He's better than the two of them in the ring. He moves faster than Vikingo. He has more experience than Jimmy Shane. He is the best wrestler that is in AEW right now, the single best in there. And once I decide to pass down my lineage to Nick Wayne, he'll be great. And you know, there's something that we need to take care of first, Adam, and that's you. I'm just going to have to show you how much a properly functioning family can really operate, since you obviously don't have the tact to be able to do something like that. You don't have the experience. You don't know what it's like to have a real functioning family. So yeah, Christian Cage just taunting his old buddy. Really? That might have to get changed. Eddie Kingston defeats Lance Archer, defending the Continental and the Strong Openweight. The Continental, it was defended against Frankie Kazarian on Impact earlier on in the week as well. After the match, Eddie is in the ring when he's jumped by Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. The two are beating him down when Nick Nemeth's music hits, and he slowly makes his way out there. He's just wearing a suit. He's looking very fancy, very dapper. And Jay and Jeff Jarrett, they're both confused, and it gives enough time for Eddie to get out of the ring. The show ends with Eddie watching on as Nick stares down Jay and Jeff in the ring. The reason why he is named Nicholas T. Nemeth we'll get into later. Obviously, he is not known as that right now. I just don't want to change the gimmick, the name later. But it's Nick Nemeth. He is here. I feel like Dolph Ziggler debuting would be something that they would end a show off on. No pun intended. Fine. It's still early going. I'm still learning who I want to push, still getting used to everyone's popularity, figuring out, okay, how am I going to do things? It's early goings in a save. We're going to have a little bit of growing pains, but I'm still happy with the show. Lots of debuts, still a lot more to get as well. It's a new TEW save. You're going to have a lot of new people. But, yeah, that does it for our first week. Move on to Dynamite in the next week.